Greenberg. Great to chat with you today. Just wanted to ask you a couple questions in advance of the show that we're going to do at the Refinery on Sunday night. And we're looking forward to having you there with us.
What is going on, Mr. Greenberg? I am very happy to be here. Very happy to be emceeing the 10th anniversary of Runaway Gin. You and I have shared many shows together. I guess most notably being the Sphere, considering that I left on 12/30 of this past year. So I missed that New Year's show, but not to fret. Lots of fun times ahead and lots of fun times have been had.
It's always been so great to see you at Phish shows and hang out, and love to pick your brain a little bit about your connection with the band. How did you first get into Phish?
I always know this date, 7/25/03. It was in Charlotte. It's my first show. I was 15 years old. And it was a heck of a time.
What was the first Phish song that you ever heard?
First song, I definitely had a burned CD that I kept in my car for the longest time, but it was all the studio hits, all the studio cuts. So it had like Bouncing Around the Room and Runaway Gin and Farmhouse and let's see, probably like Waiting in the Velvet Sea. But these were some of my very first songs that I listened to when I listened to Phish. Let's see, what got me into Phish? I was just like a little hippie boy, just discovered pot, and I was listening to all sorts of jam bands, but Phish for me was always the group. So I grew up going to every single jam band show that I possibly could, and I guess as kind of the years have evolved, I really only go to see Phish as much as I possibly can.
What songs do you most like to hear at a Phish show, and why?
I'm not gonna go with like, Fluffhead and something from Gamehenge. I get very excited for Harry Hood. It gets me like emotional at the end of it as they're building, and then it finally kind of crescendos and you can feel good. That just gets me, like, it gives me goosebumps every time. Let's see, another good crowd. Man, I love me a Piper. I love me a Slave. I love me an NICU. I also really like me a Theme from the Bottom.
I really enjoyed sharing the Phish Sphere experience with you. What was your overall impression?
Going to the Sphere was a blast. I went to the last two nights because I went to the first two nights of the New Year's run, as we just talked about. And the last two nights were phenomenal. So going into the Sphere, the whole thing that I was excited about is like looking up and seeing all the visuals and everything like that. And my first thought was like, I can't believe that our society has created something like this. This is too funny. But then on the back end of that, my next thought was, I can't believe that it's taken us so long to come up with something like this, because it is quite the $2 billion venture. Phish could have taken it in a million different directions, and they knocked it out of the park.
How does being at a Phish show make you feel before, after, and during?
It's a great question, Andy. Before, during, and after. Okay, so before, there's always this like big kind of build up, and it's always the most fun when it's like a 2-day run or a 3-day run, because you wake up and you're kind of moving all slow and you eat some breakfast maybe, and then you might have like a drink because it's a 2 or 3 day run. And when you have that drink or you have that kind of realization, you're like, oh my God, they're playing again tonight. Like, we're going to have a fun day. And then it culminates in another Phish show. So I guess it's the sense of euphoria that you're either going to a show that night or there is another show that you're going to. You're like, what could be better than this? During. I mean, is it so lame to just say happiness? I just feel complete like happiness and content, right? Like whether it's a New Year's show or like a 420 show or this show, it's like there's no place that I'd rather be. So I don't have like a FOMO, like, oh man, my friends all went out on like a boat today back in Charleston. Like, I don't have that feeling. Or like, oh, there was like a huge, New Year's Eve party back in New York or in Charleston, or like you're at the show and you're like, there's no other place I'd rather be. I don't know what to say, but if you like Phish, then I don't need to say anything else. And after it's always the most fun to, I'm not going to say what I find the most fun to be after the show, but let's just say it involves 3 for 20. But it's always the most fun to kind of go somewhere and get a drink or get like a piece of pizza or something. I guess I'm talking about you in New York City, but like to sit around with your friends and kind of talk about like, oh man, what about that, what about that second closer, twist? Like just always a blast to sit around and kind of bullshit over the set list. And yeah, that's kind of the roller coaster of emotions with Austen.
Looking forward to hanging with you on Sunday and looking forward to playing music for you. Thank you again so much for joining us on Sunday, and thank you for joining me today to answer these questions.
All the facts that I learned, I sat in the chairs and my snaps just burned. Torture of talk, disconnects on the tongue. Facts follow my vision and dance in the sun.